Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy that Johnny touched the part where the Honorable Ministress of Sports, yes, attacked Johnny. But there's something that must be said about the attack. There's something about magic. You move your hands over here and what's being done is done over here. And jumped up and said, you should be looking out for the local people and not foreigners. In other words, that old mentality of slaving people regardless of where they come from. A lot of people who are voting now came here as workers. They have now become Caymanians and they're voting. You don't think they don't remember what it's like to be treated bad? And what Johnny said was nothing about the money that would affect us local pensions. Where it would affect her and her government and their usual, like Charles said, elitists, is people money is somebody else overseas is making money off that money. And if you give a person who's come here for 7 or 8 years, work hard, going back to their country, wants their pension to start a business to complete their life. And I know quite a few people who left and have gone home when they heard this law passed. They already did it, and now they've gone home and they started businesses with their money. Look, if somebody worked for something, give it to them. Simple. Simple. So when they attacked Johnny, what should have been said was, look, I want to make sure that those people who controlling our money overseas make more money, even though we're losing money. That's the disgusting part. Not that we want, there's no other government that has looked out for the people like the set of people we have. No other but government. I've made a few promises. One, I see the gentleman sitting in the audience tonight. I mean his son, who's my partner in primary school. I told Captain Brian, that God's willing, May the 24th when we were elected, I will highlight and go after the shenanigans that they did with him and his people at the Safe Haven docking thing. You all don't know what they did. Who can speak? Oh, you speaking tonight? Oh, beautiful. I can leave that alone. You light up the Christmas tree, Cap. You leave the house sick all day, so I didn't get in on the meeting who's going to speak. But I was going to keep my word to you, sir. And I want to do some homework. There's a certain massive walking about the place. Stand up and talk to one person and say, you really go vote for them old crew again? Walk across the street and say, I go work with McKeever, you know. From one side to that side. But they've gone to too many people's yards now that I've heard the same story. And I promise people, and I've never got on a platform and talk about people, but I have to defend. And I have to expose lies. And I'm telling people, I don't want to get down in the dirt. But anybody who knew me as a footballer knew that I love getting down in the dirt. I can get down as well, you know. I was one of those West Bears that went Georgetown and was never intimidated. I had a pastor tell me that one time. The reason he voted for me because he remembered football days. There was 2 or 3 people, he said, Ralph Williams and yourself, went Georgetown and never backed down from nobody yet. They're walking about telling people, I should be ashamed that I knew that there was more in the classrooms where my daughter was teaching, and I did nothing about it. I have an affidavit, ladies and gentlemen, where Bernie went to the Department of Environment and had him come down and do the classrooms. When the principal, he's left the island now, Mr. Wallace, found out, he was very upset with me. I said, Joe, I'll pay for it. But I got my daughter, and I don't want my daughter to be sick. She's already suffering with a lung problem. So when they go about and talk their stuff, they don't know what they're talking. They just showed up in West Bay Primary. Walking about, making the school look bad. I've been there from 1981. Now Floyd Bush called me and said, look, you think just because you made the national team, you're somebody? Come down here, you got help down here. And Ed Bush, Floyd Bush, and Bernie Bush dropped many a paint line and down there. And many a child now that's big children. Bernie went through Bernie drove the bus. Last week when he said he remembered something, I'd even forgotten it. Serving breakfast. You hear these people talking about breakfast programs in the school? When I was president of West Bay PTA, and believe you me, I had a first-class committee with me. Nobody would go call the press and without making the rest of us know. When we saw a problem, we identified it, we fixed it. We were serving breakfast for children that never had no breakfast. He said he remembered myself serving it. He remembered me driving the bus. I never got paid for that, ladies and gentlemen. And now they're coaching in the hot sun. I'm still doing it. When we don't have the LA, every day. The other day I went, a lady called me and said she wanted to see me. Because I am nervous going to people's yard because it's something I've never done my whole life. And if you invite me, I'm coming the next day. Or the very day. Or you go say, Burn, I need to see, I'm there. I went to a lady's yard and she said, I haven't seen you too much at the school lately, at the PTA meeting or whatever. I said, well, Mom, I'm there. Her husband walked in and said, hey, Mr. Bush, how you doing? How do you take that hot sun every day? I said, tell your wife. He says, what do you mean? She says she don't see me. He said to his wife, every day I pick up her son, he's down there on the field. From 2 o'clock until 4:30 every evening, that's where you can find that's where my office is, West Bay Primary School field. So Barney never just show up here lately. Barney got track record. I had to go about and talk about nobody. I'll go talk about myself and what I've done. And the thing of what I've always done is surround myself with good people and we get results. Some of them, and they have another one walking around that they have an answer for everything and they know everything. Yet, when people like Ha and those people start a business, you ask these, you have a business, a vocational thing. How many young people have you brought into your company and made them get licensed or try to train them to be what you're doing? Come on. Don't just show up, and say all this you got to do. And in the last 4 years, you land the last election. And what have you done since then? Call the radio. That's all. Call the radio. I need help at West Bay Primary. Come and help me, please. Ladies and gentlemen, the last time they said I spoke long down in Boston Bay, and I need to give Cap his time. It's something that I want to do when we get elected. You realize that as people get older, they have to be kept busy. We want to start to organize someplace, something where people can go out, or the older people can go out. We have a prearranged pickup or whatever. They go out and they sit down in a mix and they talk and they just sit down and relax someplace. That is social involvement. We have to do this for our older people. Mr. Bush has already said that little $500 ain't enough. We know that with the way it is. That's so. But we have to get our older people and keep them active. Keep them active. We got to put it to use. We got to put it to use. Don't worry. It's been sitting there only once a year being used. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to get serious about the vocational programs. Some of them are talking about, I heard the latest one is that they don't want them starting too early. I should bring 2 parents up here. I just might speak to the parents as well. Just get them come to the next meeting. We had 2 young boys in West Bay Primary in year 6. And the 2 young boys have been in trouble from year 1 to year 5. All of a sudden in year 6 they got in a certain teacher's class, and all of a sudden these boys became star students. And every 2 weeks, one of those boys is taken to the Ritz and he's learning how to do pastries, cupcakes, those type of things. The other young boy is up in the shop working with motorcycles. Ladies and gentlemen, don't tell me it's too young to start. You can start whenever the child wants and their mind and they want to. When that mind is young, it's absorbing everything. Give them the options. Don't just say we're not going to do it. It's earlier the better. We have evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, they sit down and they talk about crime, which has been one of my main fights for the past 4 years. They say I'm responsible for getting the commissioner and his deputy out of the country. I'm not. Amen. They did their own, they did it to themselves. The first time I stood and asked, all I asked the man was about his policies. And The man went to town. And we still paying him. That's the bad part. But that is where us as Caymanians better wake up. And it's time for us to start to take more control of our country, ladies and gentlemen. But I got some good news today. And sometimes it takes people, just a simple thing. I don't call into the talk shows too often. If I go on the talk show, I go on the talk show. But I know how this country stays. I don't go to church unless it's two churches I usually go to. And those two churches are always invited to. And that's the church that I grew up in and Brother Gary Church. And while I remember, I want you all to have tonight in your prayers, you all know Shorty or Kabung or whatever you want to call him. He had surgery at Dr. Shetty Hospital today. It looked like it's a success. They've kept him in the IC unit, but he's resting comfortably. Keep him in your prayers. And also, there's been a very bad accident in East End, and I want you to hear some bad news about quite a few people in the accident. Keep your prayers together for those people as well, please. But every time we'd go, the police would ask us for more money. We'd give them more money. Because if you look in the history of the country, this man, the Honorable McKeever Bush, has always given the police what they asked for. People say too much, but every time we go to ask questions, and especially in the last 4 years, oh my God, we reprimanded. We must not get involved in this and that and so forth. But there is a section of the police law, and it's section 146. Police Law 2014 revision, section 146. The Cabinet may make regulations for the good order and government of the service and for carrying into effect any of the purposes or provisions of this law, including the following: the numerical or the number of establishment of the service, the conditions of service, the various grade, ranks, and appointments therein, the duties to be performed, pay, retirement, description issues, the control administration of welfare fund, the control administration application of police legal protection fund, discipline. So we can make regulations that when we put it in place, they have to carry it out. Ladies and gentlemen, God's willing, May the 24th, we will take charge. We will tell them, look, this is what we as people on the ground know what our people are going through. This is how you're going to operate. Go and do it. We can't tell you how to be a police. You train for that. We can't tell you how to collect fingerprints. You train for that. But we can tell you the policy is how you deal with our people. You must be fair. Because there's too much evidence going on in this country where there is biasness, discrimination, not only inside the police force with each other. I addressed it directly with two commissioners now. I asked them, what are you going to do about the racism in the police force? I stood there in Parliament and I stood there face to face, and I must say this for the new one. At least he'll stand and talk to you and he'll listen to you. So ladies and gentlemen, crime, the youth, education is a priority. It's a must. And another thing I'm going to tell you all in closing. You all know you need someone to stand up for you all. There are a lot of outside elements. When this man went and he told them, I do not support taxing my people. I do not support firing 500 civil servants. Other people went away, and as they tell them what to do, they say, yeah. They go in, they sign all kind of documents and come back and say, no, we got evidence from overseas that they signed it. Just because you need a government that's going to stand up for you and fight for you, because people are going to want to push all kind of stuff that against what we grew up with. We grew up, regardless of, we may not have been born again Christians, but we are a godly country and godly people. So make sure you elect a government that can go up there, that's not afraid. The greatest compliment I had, I'm going to wear the t-shirt. A young man from Bordentown sent me a t-shirt. It said, Bernie, not for rent, not for sale, and not afraid. And I can tell you, that's all of us up here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's caps time. Thank you all very much. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate it very much.